Oscar Piastri's championship hopes took a major hit at the Brazilian Grand Prix after a controversial 10-second penalty dropped him from a potential podium to 5th place. The penalty, given for causing a collision on lap 6, has sparked intense debate in the Formula One world about racing standards and whether the punishment fit the crime. More importantly, it has widened the gap to his teammate and title rival Lando Norris to 24 points with just 3 races remaining. The incident occurred at a safety car restart on lap 6. Piastri attempted an ambitious 3-wide overtake on Kimi Antonelli and Charles Leclerc into turn 1. He locked up his front left tyre, made contact with Antonelli, which sent the Mercedes driver into Leclerc. The Ferrari suffered terminal damage and retired from the race. The stewards investigated and decided Piastri was wholly responsible, handing him a 10-second time penalty and 2 penalty points on his licence. What makes this penalty particularly significant is not just the immediate race result, but what it represents for Piastri's season and his approach to racing. The Australian has been fighting his teammate all year for the championship. Every point matters. Losing a podium finish in this way is devastating, but Piastri's response to the penalty reveals a lot about his mindset and his refusal to back down from aggressive racing. When asked after the race whether he had any regrets about the move, Piastri was defiant. He said, "No, I don't think so. I had a very clear opportunity. I went for it." The other 2 on the outside braked quite late. There was obviously a bit of a lock-up into the corner, but that was because I could see Kimi was not going to give me any space. I can't disappear, but the decision is what it is. This response shows that Piastri believes he did nothing wrong. He saw a gap, he went for it, and he feels the outcome was more about bad luck than bad judgment. This attitude is both a strength and a potential weakness. On one hand, Formula One drivers need to be aggressive. They need to take risks and seize opportunities when they appear. The best overtakes in racing history have come from drivers who were willing to stick their car into gaps that others would not attempt. Piastri has built his career on this kind of bold racing. He won championships in junior categories by being decisive and fearless. But on the other hand, Formula One is unforgiving. A small mistake can cost you a race. A lock-up at the wrong moment can end your championship challenge. The line between brave and reckless is very thin. The stewards clearly felt that Piastri crossed that line. Their official statement said that he did not have the required overlap on Antonelli to be entitled to the corner. According to the FIA driving standards guidelines, a driver needs to have their front axle alongside the mirror of the car they are overtaking. Piastri did not meet this requirement. The stewards also noted that he locked up while trying to avoid contact, but was unable to do so. They concluded that a 10-second penalty and 2 penalty points were appropriate and consistent with recent precedents. But not everyone agrees with this assessment. Former Formula One driver and Sky Sports commentator Martin Brundle said that if he was offered the same opportunity 20 times, he would take it every time. He felt it was a legitimate racing move. Another former driver, Jolyon Palmer, questioned whether the penalty was judged on the outcome rather than the move itself. He argued that the outcome only looked bad because Antonelli came across, and that Antonelli also played a role in the incident. Even Charles Leclerc, who lost his race because of the collision, defended Piastri and said he did not think the penalty was deserved. This disagreement highlights one of the biggest challenges in modern Formula One. The sport has been trying to create more consistent rules for racing incidents. The FIA has published driving standards guidelines that are supposed to make it clear what is and is not allowed. But racing is not a science. It is an art. Every incident is different. Every corner is different. What looks like a fair move to one person looks like dangerous driving to another. The stewards have to make split-second decisions based on video replays and data. They also have to consider the consequences. In this case, the fact that Leclerc retired probably influenced their thinking. For Piastri, the bigger concern is what this means for his championship fight. He came into Brazil hoping to close the gap to Norris. Instead, the gap has grown. Norris won the race and now has a 24-point lead. There are 83 points still available over the final 3 races, so mathematically, it is still possible for Piastri to win the title. but he needs everything to go perfectly. He needs to win races, and he needs Norris to have problems. The margin for error is now 0. Piastri acknowledged this reality after the race. When asked about his title hopes, he said, "Just try and get the most out of it that I can." The second half of the race, potentially, was not too bad, but the first stint was a little bit tough. So it is about just trying to get back on top of things with that, and try and have the best weekends we can. This is a more measured response than his comments about the penalty itself. He is being realistic about his situation. He knows that complaining about the penalty will not change anything. He needs to focus on what he can control, which is his performance in the final 3 races. The penalty also raises questions about how McLaren will handle the rest of the season. The team has 2 drivers fighting for the championship. They have said publicly that they will not impose team orders and that both drivers are free to race. But with Norris now 24 points ahead, the temptation to protect his lead must be growing. If Piastri is fighting for a position with Norris in one of the remaining races, will the team step in? Will they ask Piastri to move aside? These are difficult questions that McLaren will have to answer in the coming weeks. There is also the matter of the 2 penalty points that Piastri received. He now has 8 penalty points on his super license over the last 12 months. If he reaches 12 points, he will receive an automatic 1-race ban. This means he needs to be very careful in the final 3 races. He cannot afford to pick up 4 more penalty points. This adds another layer of pressure to an already difficult situation. He needs to race aggressively to have any chance of catching Norris, but he also needs to avoid any incidents that could result in more penalties. The Brazilian Grand Prix penalty will be remembered as a turning point in the 2025 championship fight. Before the race, Piastri had a realistic chance of winning the title. After the race, his chances are slim. The penalty has been debated and criticised, but the result stands. Piastri has made it clear that he has no regrets about the move, and that he will continue to race aggressively. This is who he is as a driver. He is not going to change his approach just because of one penalty. The question now is whether this aggressive approach will help him or hurt him in the final 3 races. If he can channel it into clean, fast racing, he might be able to put pressure on Norris and keep the championship fight live. But if he makes another mistake, if he picks up another penalty, the title fight will be over. The next race is in Las Vegas in 2 weeks. It will be a crucial test for Piastri. He needs to show that he can bounce back from this disappointment and deliver the kind of performances that made him a championship contender in the first place. For now, Piastri is standing by his decision to go for the overtake. He believes he had a clear opportunity and that he was entitled to the space. The stewards disagreed. The debate will continue, but for Piastri, the only thing that matters is what happens on track in Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. His championship hopes are still alive, but only just. The penalty in Brazil may have cost him more than a podium. It may have cost him the title.